Thank you for joining us on NTV Weekend Edition. In a major development on the political scene, the People's Front for Freedom, widely known as PFF, has officially been designated as a political party by the Electoral Commission, a move that could shift dynamics ahead of the 2026 polls. But what does this mean for the political landscape, and how are voters reacting to this new entrant? That's the focus on our opinion poll tonight, and we would like to hear your take on this. Once again, share your thoughts on the People's Front for Freedom being gazetted as a political party ahead of the 2026 general elections. Now, feel free to leave your comment on our social media platforms, NTV Uganda on Facebook and at NTV Uganda on Twitter. We shall be reading them a bit later on. For now, let's take a look at some more of the stories that we'll be looking at tonight.
You are watching NTV Weekend Edition.
Tonight, the People's Front for Freedom is finally a registered political party 8 months after its membership split from the Forum for Democratic Change. NRM leaders in Kampala expressed confidence that the party will regain support in the metropolis after a mixed day of grassroots polls across the country. Also on NTV Weekend Edition, 10 days after a bus crash in Mutwe, YY coaches hand over the body of former Manafa District Service Commission chairperson who had been missing. And security agencies released Kassimu Ssebudde, who was kidnapped alongside NUP bodyguard Edward Ssebufu or Eddie Mutwe last month.
You are watching NTV Weekend Edition. You are watching NTV Weekend Edition.
Thank you for joining us once again. We are coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Conference Centre, also streaming on X as well as ntv.co.ug. I'm Mildred Bedun with Susan Mujawananda on sign language. In our top story tonight, the People's Front for Freedom has welcomed the Electoral Commission's decision to formally designate this organisation as an official political party, as seen in the Uganda Gazette. PFF officials say this will improve their relationship with other opposition parties. However, as our reporter found, the PFF leaders are unhappy that it has taken long for the EC to designate them as a political party.
On September 27th last year, the Katonga-based FDC faction resolved to register the People's Front for Freedom, PFF, as a political party, following consultations with its members. The move followed their decision to separate from the FDC following their disagreement of funds allegedly received from the NRM.
That it's not excitement that we are feeling right now. No. We are just welcoming the news. We are just embracing the development that has occurred, which is positive. But there is little excitement.
However, the PFF ran into problems and have spent the better part of 8 months in dispute with the Electoral Commission over delays in registering the PFF. The Electoral Commission had at one time asked the PFF to change the name of the party as it was reportedly associated with the People Power Front. The move failed, and today, the Electoral Commission formally placed the PFF into the Uganda Gazette after it met all requirements for registration of a political party. For his part, PFF Interim President Erias Lukwago has criticized the Electoral Commission for delaying the launch of his party by 6 months now.
It comes a little late because we have lost a lot of time. The law has been abused by the EC to the hilt. I will read for you the provision of Section 6, Clause 4. The Electoral Commission shall cause a notice of the application to be published in the Gazette within 30 days after receiving.
Lukwago explained that they had endured challenges in dealing with other opposition parties as they were not a formally registered entity. If no party or member files a complaint against the party within the 14 days, it will be declared a political party. Joram Paul Sonko for NTV News.
Now, I would like to hear your thoughts on the People's Front for Freedom being gazetted as the latest political party ahead of the 2026 general elections. Now, feel free to share your thoughts on our social media platforms. We shall get to them a bit later on. For now, let us continue with NTV Weekend Edition. 10 days after a crash in Mutwe in which a YY bus collided with a Scania truck and overturned before catching fire at Makindu, the firm has handed over the body of former Manafa District Service Commission chairperson Canon Jimmy Musimbi, who perished in the disaster. A week ago, the family had complained about the silence to explain what happened to Canon Musimbi's body days after the crash.
On May 5th, a bus belonging to YY coaches crashed into a Scania truck and burst into flames. According to police reports, 3 people died on the spot and over 30 were hospitalized. Canon Jimmy Musimbi, who had boarded the bus, was among those declared to have died, but his body had not been found. The family held prayers for him at St. Andrew's Cathedral, Balaalo, a week ago, but without the puzzle. Alex Musimbi, the eldest son to the Anglican lay leader, says they searched all the health facilities in the Katosi, Buikwe and Jinja areas for anybody connected to the bus crash. Musimbi says they found 35 survivors and 3 bodies, yet the bus is thought to have been carrying at least 60 people.
The traffic police actually had a list at the scene. Told us, if you have this, now the eviction is to anyone. And 3 dead bodies. 3 dead bodies. We are told that the bus carries between 6 to 12.
Following last week's story on the matter, the police and YY management recovered Canon Musimbi's remains and have since handed them over to the family.
City mortuary in Mulago told us there is 1 body out of the 3 we took, which they had earlier suspected to be for a woman. After conducting forensic examinations, was found to be belonging to a man, a male adult.
The younger Musimbi says they are grateful for the support accorded to them in obtaining their father's remains.
We appreciate the church, particularly the Archbishop and the Bishop of Mbarara Diocese, who have relentlessly contacted the authorities that be to ensure that the body of our father is found.
The body is being transferred to his ancestral home in Manafwa with a funeral planned for tomorrow.
We shall give him a decent burial on Saturday in our ancestral home.
The Ministry of Works has since suspended the management of YY coaches for 2 weeks as an investigation into the cause of the crash continues.
Now, in a related development, the Ministry of Works and Police launched an inspection of YY buses after the firm was involved in 2 crashes in a month. Now, this was in implementation of a directive by the State Minister for Transport, Fred Byamukama, early this week. Ministry officials say buses found in a substandard condition would not be allowed to carry passengers until they meet the set standards.
On the 5th of this month, a YY bus collided with a Scania truck, overturned and caught fire. By the end of the incident, 4 people had died and 34 others were hospitalized with severe injuries. The severity of this crash, along with another that left 9 injured in Chiriandongo, prompted the State Minister for Transport, Fred Byamukama, to suspend the bus company's operations for 15 days and launch an investigation into the incident. Today, the Ministry of Transport began the inspection process to determine whether the conditions are right for the company to resume passenger services. inspectors are using both visual assessments and electronic diagnostics. When anomalies are detected, the data appears on a screen for further review. Inspectors are examining wheel alignment, vehicle surface condition, and the undercarriage to ensure all components are in proper working order.
We inspect for items which cannot be inspected manually, like the braking system, like the suspension, like the headlamp aim, and also the emissions, okay? And also the alignment, as you have seen.
Transport Ministry spokesperson Alan Sempewa says this move is not meant to punish the bus owners, but rather to prioritize the safety of road users.
It's a joint exercise, and we don't want the bus operators to think this is a witch hunt. No, because the police reports are actually very clear. The two incidents, separate incidents, were as a result of reckless driving and behavior of the drivers on the roads.
The ministry has also dismissed claims by some bus drivers that poor road conditions are solely to blame for the accidents. Now, the head of vehicle inspection at the Ministry of Transport, Karim Chibuka, says authorities are also reviewing the inspection history of each bus to confirm compliance.
For what they have been the maintenance schedule, okay? For how long have they been maintaining these vehicles and the schedule of maintenance? If we get records which show that actually these vehicles have not been maintained well, then it can be also a caution.
When asked what would happen if the 15-day suspension ends before the inspections are complete, he had this to say.
But should we not finish within 15 days, of course we shall ask the minister with justifications to extend these days. But also we are cognizant of the fact that the operator is not working. So we don't want to consume too much time on this exercise.
Meanwhile, bus operators say they are planning to petition the Ministry of Transport to adopt a less stringent approach to this suspension.
We are going to request the government to reduce on the number of days of the suspension.
For now, the inspections continue at various company depots across the country.
Now, security agencies have released Kassimu Ssebudde, who was kidnapped alongside Edward Ssebufu on 27th of last month. Ssebudde says he is still unclear where he was being held, but his captors abandoned him near his home in Mukono last night. Following his release, National Unity Platform President Robert Kyagulanyi stated that the abduction was part of a strategy to intimidate them and drive their supporters away. We do have details in this report.
On April 27, 2025, one of Robert Kyagulanyi's bodyguards, Edward Ssebufu, known as Eddie Mutwe, was arrested along with two others while they were leaving a ceremony at Chiwango village in Mukono. Later, Eddie Mutwe was arraigned in Masaka Magistrates Court and charged with 6 accounts of aggravated robbery and theft, joining his co-accused Akileo Chivumbi, Gaddafi Mugumya and Grace Wakabi. The trio are accused of committing violence at a funeral at Manja village in Rengo district last year. Kassimu Ssebudde, one of those kidnapped along with Eddie Mutwe, today showed up at the party headquarters in Kavule in Makerere, alleging that his kidnappers dumped him near his home in Mukono last night.
As it approached midnight yesterday, I was driven from the place where I had been held to an unfamiliar area. Fortunately, there were people who removed my blindfold and helped me reach home.
Ssebudde appeared to be in pain, with parts of his body covered in scars from the wounds he said were inflicted on him during the 3 weeks he spent in captivity. He told us that he and his colleagues, including Najib Kyagulanyi, who is still missing, were captured at Chiwango village in Mukono and taken to an unknown location. However, when they arrived at the place, they were separated.
We were at a friend's function when suddenly strange men approached us and forcefully took us to an unknown location. Once there, we were separated and the ordeal of torture began.
Ssebudde reveals that he was asked about his involvement with the NUP, even pressurized to share details about the gatherings at the party headquarters in which they behaved like soldiers. At the NUP headquarters in Makerere, Kavule, we also met the relatives of young Noah Mitala, who is also known as Noah Mutwe, who also went missing with the trio.
They first abducted his father and forced him to lead them to his son's house. Once they arrived at ours, they took him away. At that moment, I was in the bathroom bathing. The men were wearing face masks, except for one who appeared to be of Rwandan descent.
She says her biggest wish is to know where her husband is being held and to stop the kidnapping.
I am calling on the responsible parties to come forward and help us. We firmly believe that he was captured because he was speaking the truth, something that the CDF and the president may find unpalatable. We urgently need justice and support in this difficult time.
No law enforcement agency has currently confirmed or denied the kidnapping of Noah Mutwe.
Abductions are a policy now, a government policy in Uganda, carried out by the military, spearheaded by the head of the military. These are signs of weakness. We are going into an election, and that's why they're doing this. Why? Because we are taking them into an election where they have no power. They know they have no support. We are going to a protest vote that they know they have no chance of winning. Therefore, they want to bring in violence because violence is their game. But we shall not stop.
Meanwhile, NRM leaders in Kampala have expressed confidence that the party will regain support in Kampala in the coming general polls. This as the party held its structural elections at sub-county level across the country. Meanwhile, the party's Electoral Commission chairperson, Tango Doi, has blamed isolated incidents of violence in today's exercise on some registrars and politicians misunderstanding instructions.
The NRM party this morning kicked off its structural elections at sub-county, town council and municipal division level across the country. In Kampala, the exercise commenced with tight security at a number of polling stations owing to concerns raised at the lower levels. In Mengo Chisenyi at Kampala Central Block 2B, a number of top positions in the party structure, including chairperson, vice chairperson and secretary for finance, saw candidates sailing through unopposed. Salim Uhuru and Minister for Kampala, Minsa Kabanda, were contesting for Vice Chairperson and Secretary for Finance, respectively.
I think the services, the way I've been communicating with the communities, the way I've been handling the community, that's why no one has come to stand against me, right from the village level. At the district, I do not know who is going to come, but I am waiting for whoever comes. We will take him on.
And I'm ready to serve my party. I'm ready to serve with the elected team. Chairperson is Mr. Mulindwa, the vice is Mr. Uhuru, and we are going as far as the district, and I know we are going to pass through, we are going to succeed. But people have trusted us, and we should not let them down. This is service delivery. There is no money, there is nothing. Should not get divided because of elections.
However, other positions had elections going on, with the registrar conducting the exercise and counting supporters behind particular candidates.
Right now, the stats in Uganda, the majority are youths. So I'm going to use my position to mobilize every youth on the ground to show them the truth, which is voting our lovely president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, in 2026.
Security had a tough time to control some people who were not part of the college and attempted to cross into the cordoned area. At Kawa Primary School, security was beefed up ahead of the exercise, where former division chairperson Abdallah Chitata was contesting to retain his position. He lost to Jamil Kabugo, who got 78 votes against his 40 votes.
Of 20 years of leadership of Mwami Chitata. So you can't just take it for granted. Those people who believed in him thought today they can win. But our team was prepared because we are determined to change what is in Rubaga.
However, Chitata blamed his loss on influence from some top party officials fighting him, pledging to continue serving the party.
The NRM polls have been influenced by some big shots. But I love my party and will continue supporting the NRM.
As polls for the special interest groups almost came to a close, police were forced to fire bullets in the air to disperse a group of youth outside the gate who had started chaos and violence. Some people sustained injuries, and those believed to be behind the chaos were arrested and whisked away in the waiting police vehicle.
There are those who had come with what is locally known as a gari. That group of hooligans who are always hired to cause havoc. I'm glad that police has arrested a few of them and managed to disperse those that had come to destabilize the voting.
And we also followed up the exercise in PG, Mityana and Kayunga. Meanwhile, the NRM Electoral Commission chairperson, Dr. Tango Doi, described the exercise as generally peaceful, save for some few isolated incidents.
So I think we are handling it so well so far. We shall be getting complaints later. The mistake I've seen is that even the candidates don't know the rules of the game.
He blamed some challenges and violence experienced in some areas on registrars and some politicians.
Partly they have been the problem to us. Then the politicians who have camps. All the fights in elections, in Luuka, in Kamuli, in Buyende, in Kampala, in Rubaga, they are because they are big people sponsoring those fights.
The Party Electoral Commission Chair, Dr. Tango Doi, says those aggrieved have an opportunity to petition. However, he added that the party is ready for the next set of polls for district leaders, cautioning against any plot for violence. I'm Benjamin Jumbe, NTV Weekend Edition.
That report from Benjamin Jumbe wraps up the first segment of NTV Weekend Edition. But here is still to come.
Still to come.
All the military stores must be properly inscribed.
Attorney General Chiriowa Chiwanuka urges MPs to include a provision in the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025 stating that all military equipment must be marked with UPDF for identification purposes. And the government resumes the eviction of nomadic cattle herdsmen, commonly known as Balaalo, drawn from the northern Uganda. NTV Weekend Edition returns shortly.
You should meet my best friend. She's the sweetest. Hey, bestie. How's my hair?
Which one? The one on your head or the one on your comb? Chill. All you need is Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener for visibly less hair breakage after just one use. Wow, love your hair.
Really? Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener for visibly less hair breakage after just one use.
This May 24th is the grand finale of the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo 2025. Festival Day at Speak Resort Munyonyo. Experience a vibrant mix of music, dance, fashion, art, a fun-filled kids section, and an epic boat regatta on Lake Victoria. Live on stage, Luthri, Winnie Nwaji, Abeka Band, Otim Alpha, Sunabed, Shilaga Shumba, Salvador, Alideki Brian, Crane Performers, and more. General tickets go for 20k and VIP for 50k. Get yours now at tagticketing.com. What a festival day. Celebrate culture, celebrate Uganda. Don't miss it.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, just a second. Where is your tax clearance certificate?
Hey.
You don't seem to have a tax clearance certificate, do you?
Oh, no. I haven't filed my returns.
Sorry, we can't proceed without it. Can we bring in another bidder now?
Next. Opportunities don't wait. Avoid penalties and interest by filing and paying your taxes before June 30th, 2025. Call our toll-free number or WhatsApp for help. Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
I've got a plan to handle mishaps like a boss. So even when things get out of control, I'm always in the driver's seat.
ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. ICEA Lion, what's your plan?
Ever caught yourself staring at your dream car thinking, one day, but why wait? With NCBA Asset Finance, that one day is today. It's right now. Get up to 100% financing for a brand new car from Motorcare at reduced prices, with low interest rates, a 2-month repayment holiday, discounted comprehensive insurance, and up to 72 months to repay. It's time to get the car that suits your lifestyle. Visit a Motorcare showroom or NCBA branch near you. Call 0800 222 123 or email contactug@ncbagroup.com to apply today.
Every child deserves a chance at life. But malaria still claims the lives of many children every day. This doesn't have to be the case. The good news is, starting this April, you can protect your child with the new malaria vaccine to reduce the risks of severe malaria and possible death. And when combined with a mosquito-treated net and other malaria preventive measures, it offers even stronger protection. Make sure your child gets their first malaria vaccine dose at 6 months and completes the remaining doses by their 2nd-year birthday. This vaccine is now part of your child's routine immunization schedule and is as essential as completing all other childhood vaccines, such as those for measles, polio, and yellow fever within the first 2 years. Give your child a chance at life by visiting your nearest health facility, offering vaccination and immunization services to protect your child against all immunizable diseases.
You are watching NTV Weekend Edition.
Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it NTV. You're still watching NTV Weekend Edition. The Attorney General, Chiriwa Chiwanuka, is urging MPs to include a provision in the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025, stating that all military equipment must be marked with UPDF for identification purposes. This includes uniforms, helmets, boots and other items. The goal is to distinguish them from other public items. However, he also emphasized the importance of warning people against possessing military items to prevent confusion. This proposal was during a joint parliamentary committee meeting that is renewing the amendments of the UPDF bill.
The guidance. The Joint Parliamentary Committee handling the amendments to the UPDF Bill 2025 reconvened today with the Attorney General to seek further clarification on unresolved issues from their previous meeting on Wednesday. Senior military officials also attended the session. A key point of contention remains how to differentiate ordinary items such as shoes and counter suits from military gear to avoid civilians being charged in military courts for possession of military items. The Attorney General provided legal guidance on the matter.
Part should be that all the military stores must be properly inscribed with UPDF, and that has to be added into the bill in order for it to have.
Inscribing the word UPDF on those items, it does not reflect anywhere in this schedule 7A.
However, Attorney General Chiriwa Chiwanuka appeared to reverse his earlier position while noting that members of parliament should handle the issue of military stores with care.
For example, the issue of the beret. As long as the beret does not have that insignia or emblem, then it's not UPDF.
Now, it may seem like we are discussing the red beret right now, but how is he, the soldier who is guarding you, to know if he finds 100 people and all of them are just saying these are not military stores?
Chiwanuka also defended the prosecution of civilians in military courts, mainly citing cases where individuals are found in legal possession of firearms.
What the government is saying is that these people who use these illegal firearms in concert with soldiers, let us deal with them as what? As soldiers. But we are not saying that soldiers should not be treated as human beings. Soldiers also need fairness and justice.
The committee also engaged with officials from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP. They argued that cases listed in the UPDF Act should be handled by the military courts. They warned that expanding the jurisdiction of the court-martial could lead it to handle even corruption and other civil offences. The proposed amendments list offences such as murder, aggravated robbery, kidnapping with the intent to murder, treason, misprision of treason, and cattle rustling.
Only difference is that where these courts operate elsewhere, their jurisdiction is well defined. It is not all over the place. And that is what the Supreme Court is telling us.
Giving such a wide jurisdiction is likely to create confusion in the administration of justice. The provision would mean that the General Court Martial can even try corruption-related offenses under the Anti-Corruption Act.
Concerns were also raised about the lack of judicial independence in the military courts, since the judges are serving military officers appointed by the Army's High Command. Critics argue this undermines the prospects for fair trial.
To mitigate the perceived fears of partiality, there is a need to strengthen the tenets of independence of the General Court Martial. We recommend that a specific provision in the terms equivalent to Article 128 of the Constitution be inserted to guarantee independence of the General Court Martial, provide for non-interference in the performance of their judicial function from third parties.
The most important issue that I see in this whole thing, in this whole process, is how do we build the confidence of the public that when I am taken to the court-martial, I will be treated justly.
One member of parliament proposed that before finalizing the bill, legislators should visit civilians currently imprisoned through military court processes to better understand how their cases were handled.
These people in these prisons that have passed through the general court martials or through the division court martials, it would be important, Mr. Chairman, that this committee doesn't process this bill before visiting the people, even Kitara, and listen to them. Those that have been sentenced, how did they go? Who was even the prosecutor?
Meanwhile, MPs rejected a proposal by Mukono Municipality MP Betty Nambozi to summon the Chief of Defence Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, for his views on the bill.
And I wish to move that among the people this committee interfaces with during this process includes the Commander of Defence Forces of Uganda, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba.
To implement the person who will be consulted when it comes to the appointments according to the bill. I do not see any wrong of calling him for us to summon. In favor will say aye, and to the contrary,
you are
nay.
still teaching us on how to vote. He hasn't called the vote.
An open question remains whether the law, if passed, will apply retrospectively. The Supreme Court had earlier ruled that such cases should be transferred to the DPP, who has so far received 45 cases since January. However, only 2 have proceeded to trial in civilian courts. Juma Kiria, NTV.
Thank you, Juma Kiria. Now, the government will this weekend resume the eviction of nomadic cattle herdsmen, commonly known as Balaalo, drawn from the northern Uganda, following the successful vaccination of animals in the country against foot and mouth disease. The move follows last year's presidential order calling for their eviction following their illegal occupation of government ranches. We have more in this report.
The government is set to commence fresh eviction of nomadic cattle herdsmen, commonly known as Balaalo, from various parts of northern region following a successful vaccination of animals in the country against foot and mouth disease.
We are soon embarking on this operation because we already have great and fantastic, successful vaccination of our animals against foot and mouth disease.
Kenneth Omona, the State Minister for Northern Uganda, announced, saying that the operation will be commanded by the UPDF, police, and supervised by the Office of the State Minister for Northern Uganda.
This operation will be led by people in uniform. These ones. It will be commanded by the UPDF and police. It will be supervised from the Office of the Minister in charge of Northern Uganda.
Omana says all locations where the Balaalo are located have been mapped out, adding that a complaint desk will be established as the exercise continues.
We also going to open channels for raising complaints. Like I've told you, for the last 6 months, these people here, they know where every Balaalo is. We know. We have mapped out, we know. We know everywhere one is and the challenges associated. Some of you leaders here have now become the Balaalos yourselves. If there's anybody who has given any Balaalos money, deceiving them that you will not be evicted from here, I'm a very big person here. I can assure you, you have eaten that person's money for nothing.
Amuru Resident District Commissioner Geoffrey Osborne-Ocheng, however, accused the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries of conniving with the Balaalo herdsmen to fake disease outbreaks to frustrate the implementation of President Museveni's executive order to evict the herdsmen.
They told me that RDC, we always collect money to give to technical people in Kampala to declare that there is food and mouth disease in the area in order to stop this process. I said that yes, we always do it. And we have successfully failed this program because we always do this.
Okello Okuna, the Minister for Information at the Acholi Cultural Institution, said that the presence of Balaalo herdsmen has caused a rise in crime in Acholi sub-region.
These cattle are grazing on people's gardens. Another issue we found is that when the locals' animals come near these people's crowds, for the bulls, they cut off the testicles. And we're asking ourselves, do these people want to be the monopolists of animals in a Jewish sub-region?
Meanwhile, Michael Akon, the Amuru District Chairperson, challenged the government on the fate of Samuel Ochora, the district veterinary officer who was shot dead by a soldier while implementing the executive order last year.
Up to now, we are not aware of the fate from the court case, whether that soldier has been apprehended.
The eviction, which is part of Presidential Executive Order number 3, was halted last year due to the outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the country.
Now, the Uganda AIDS Commission today commemorated the International AIDS Candlelight Memorial Day with a call to stabilize funding for the sector, marked under the theme, Ending AIDS by 2030, Building Sustainable HIV Response. Advocates are concerned that the gains made in the fight against the pandemic should not be ignored.
AIDS epidemic is an ongoing crisis in Uganda, but the gains made in this fight are in danger of being lost after foreign donors pulled out resources despite the 2014 Paris Declaration to end the AIDS epidemic. With the national adult prevalence rate now pegged at 5.4%, Uganda also registered a reduction in new HIV infections from 52,000 in 2022 down to 38,000 in 2023. However, Dr. Nelson Musowa, the Uganda AIDS Commission Director General, decried the high rate of complacency among the youth. Of the 38,000 new infections in 2023, 20,000 among these are teenagers.
A large percentage of them were adolescents between 15 and 24. And the girl child specifically, out of every 5, 4 of them were girls amongst those young people. So you can see it's a real threat because as a country, we are talking about modernization, productivity, industrialization. So we need the young people healthy and alive.
The USAID recently announced a funding freeze, but Dr. Musowa says in the recently approved 72.3 trillion shilling budget for the financial year 2025-2026, these gaps have been addressed by government.
Government has moved and identified money and provided it to support those gaps. We've worked with the Minister of Health and Minister of Finance, and they have identified part of that support. And in the new budget, we have assurance from Government of Uganda that the gaps will be addressed.
Jacqueline Makoka, the UNAIDS country director, has revealed that Uganda is one of the few countries still on the right track regarding the HIV funding program. She says a report on the National AIDS Spending Assessments, which tracks financial funding to HIV prevention initiatives, will soon be launched.
We have been working very closely with the Uganda AIDS Commission and the Ministry of Health to track the impact of the global shifts in funding, which we know affected many countries this year. We have tracked, we have looked at the data, and Uganda is one of those countries where we are not very worried.
Dr. Robert Mutumba, the Assistant Commissioner HIV Control Program at the Ministry of Health, is assuring Ugandans on behalf of the sector that government has adopted an integrated program to sustain HIV treatment.
All necessary policy, training and implementation materials have been developed and will be rolled out across all regions come July 1, 2025, when the new financial year begins. Additionally, a comprehensive analysis of the impact of reduced donor financing has been completed and is under discussion at cabinet level.
In Uganda, over 1.4 million people are receiving HIV medication. This represents about 98% of those infected. The authorities now are faced with the challenge of how best to reach the youth whose complacency levels are increasing. Juliet Nalwoga, NTV Weekend Edition.
And now, talking business, some women entrepreneurs who have been trying to access loans under the Generating Growth Opportunities and Productivity for Women Enterprises project, GROW, are raising concerns over delays by banks in processing the funds. This comes after the government has announced that it is in its final stages of releasing the second batch of the GROW loans. In response, Gender Minister Betty Amongi says that they are engaging the financial institutions to be more responsive, including handling applicants without collateral but with strong payment capacity. Rona Nahabwe brings us this report.
Ugandan women exhibit resilience and entrepreneurship, commanding ownership of nearly 40% of all businesses. And this is partly the reason why the World Bank gave a grant worth $217 billion, around 803 billion shillings, to support women entrepreneurs. Under this grant, a portion of $50 million is allocated to loans.
Let me be clear. Women's economic empowerment is not a peripheral issue. It is a national priority. It is a core part of Uganda's strategy to build an inclusive, resilient, and dynamic economy.
However, despite 51 billion shillings worth of loans already disbursed between August to December last year, there are still concerns about access to this money.
Majority of women are complaining that the terms and conditions are very stringent. Secondly, the process is so long. Thirdly, the collateral is very stiff and they are unable to get the loans because of the collateral. So we have here today financial institutions, financial companies, innovators that have designed IT solutions and financing model that are gender inclusive, targeting women, which have been lending to women even without collaterals and have been able to recover back their money.
So at the end of the day, we hope that we can have institutions that say that even if a woman doesn't have collateral, I'm willing to pay. Even if the woman doesn't have financial records, I can use psychological assessment. If you come and speak to me, you can actually be able to tell if I'm a good person and I understand my business. If I don't have the books written, I have written them on my heart and I can speak. So why don't you give me a loan?
As of December 31st, 2024, a total of 2,175 women in 84 districts and 2 cities had benefited from the grant, with the trade and commerce sector having the most recipients, followed by agriculture, construction, and engineering. Roana Habwe, NTV Weekend Edition.
Still in business, Uganda's Human Development Index has improved, ranking the country at 157th out of 193 countries, according to the latest United Nations Development Programme report. Since the 1990, the Human Development Index has improved by 70.2%, with life expectancy of up to 20.7 years, schooling by 5.8 years, and gross national income per capita by 158%. However, inequality remains a challenge. During the launch of the report, experts noted that Uganda could harness artificial intelligence as a transformative tool to advance its human development by integrating AI into key sectors such as healthcare, education and agriculture. Uganda has the potential to reduce inequality and accelerate inclusive growth. Betty Ndagire has the detail.
Development of economies has long been pegged on the total value of goods and services their populations produce. But while the world evolves, it has emerged that an economy can grow while having worsening human development metric. Uganda, for instance, has its gross domestic product increased from 202.1 trillion shillings in 2023-2024 to 225.5 trillion shillings in 2024-2025. But a closer look at its Human Development Index, according to data compiled by the United Nations Development Programme, shows that over time it has been improving when you look at things like life expectancy, expected years of schooling, and gross national income.
There is just one area where we seem to have dropped, that is gender equality. But now that we have got this, we are going to work very strategically, very intentionally to make sure, because Uganda has been on top in this area with our affirmative actions and really making sure that we have gender equality. So we are going to identify those specific areas and government is going to address them.
Remember, Uganda moved from where it is to the medium Human Development Index level because it had invested in health, in education, in other areas. Since there are gradations, it's a medium, it could go to high, it could go to very high. This report, it helps countries not just measure development on per capita or GDP, but measure development in terms of how it really affects people in the core areas that matter, like health, education, food, and all of that. So always a report that is diagnostic in nature, like the Human Development Report, is always a good report to use.
The 2025 Human Development Index report, People and Possibilities in the Age of Artificial Intelligence by UNDP, also reminds us that it's people, not machines, who determine which technologies thrive, how they are used, and whom they serve. But it does emphasize that AI's impact will be defined not by what it can do, but by the decisions we make in design, development, and deployment. Betty Ndagire, NTV Weekend Edition.
We now stop for another break. When we return, we'll be getting into some of the day's sporting action. Do stay with us.
That's me having the worst day ever. But then I saw them and I knew my besties were both going through it. And that's when I had an idea. That's OT. The socials are having him right now, but not for long. And that's Chico, certified stress girly and goated producer. So we get to the spot, and what do these guys do? And just like that, I was having the best day ever. Sharing a Coke with my faves. Who will you share a Coke with?
Good morning, beautiful. It's time to wake up. How was your night? Beautiful. Rest from gives a very good morning.
And dreams.
Rest from and rest spring mattresses. The big deal. No morning body pain. Massages you through.
You can only sleep like a baby on the highest quality and durable mattress for backaches, overall body pains, resting at its best, you name it. Rose Farm has it all.
Rose Farm, a world of beautiful dreams.
Yes!
Everyone has a dream of owning a house this year. It's your turn to Joga 2025 with ABSA. Switch to ABSA and make your dream a reality by applying for the ABSA Home Loan. Call 0800 222 333 and let's get started. ABSA, your story matters.
Bodies are sustained by nature's endless gifts. From the food we eat to the air we breathe, the vitamins and minerals strengthen us, helping us glow and thrive. Introducing Vitamin N for nature. Give your skin a daily dose of Vitamin N. Experience Amara Skincare. Packed with Vitamin N. Amara. Embrace nature.
Comedy Store brings you the band at the Kampala Serena Hotel on the 17th of May 2025. Book your ticket from cricket.co.ug. Brought to you by Pepsi.
You are watching NTV Weekend Edition.
On to sport, we do start off with an update from the Uganda Premier League, where Mbarara City defeated Express FC by 2-0 at the Kacheka Stadium in game week 29 of the Uganda Premier League. Goals from Bernard Ndifuna and Nasur Sadiq helped Mbarara climb to 13th on 32 points, while Express stay in 9th place on 39 points.
The fans have been behind us, they've come in big numbers, and that's what we are required to give them. When the fans come in big numbers, we just have to give them that happiness and vibe. So that's what I do best.
We managed to manage the game the first 45 minutes, but I think we lost some control second half, so we lost the game. We are going to work on our program. Especially scoring. So we want to work on it, score, and win.
Still in local soccer, Vipers Sports Club and Kitara FC will come up against each other tomorrow for a third time in a fortnight when the two sides play at the Royal Park in the second leg of this season's Uganda Cup semi-final. Vipers, who clinched the league title against Kitara on Wednesday, hold a 1-0 first leg advantage.
It's Alan Okello, couple of yards away. Okello swings, and there's a couple of problems, and Gusto!
Viper Sports Club and Kitara Football Club will once again come up against each other at the Royal Park in Hoima tomorrow in the second leg of the Uganda Cup semi-final. The Venoms enter this encounter, the better of the two sides, following their Uganda Premier League triumph on Wednesday, this week. Vipers, who have beaten Kitara in 3 of the last 4 matches the two sides have played in all competitions, won the first leg 1-0 in Chitende thanks to a last-minute winner by Yunus Sentam. Kitara, who are the defending champions, will be looking to overturn the first leg loss to stay in contention for a second consecutive Uganda Cup title.
As players, we know what is at stake. We have to make sure we pick up maximum points with more goals. We are set, we are motivated, and we are ready to qualify to the finals. We are aware that we have lost against them twice, but now we have to turn things around because this is our cup. We are defending champions, and we have to make sure that we qualify to the finals and defend our trophy.
Vipers, on the other hand, are in search of a 4th Uganda Cup and will also be looking to replicate the 2023 season where they secured a season's double.
That we have worked with the entire season is a very big group. They have been here before. They have won a double before. So meaning they can accomplish everything. Regardless of the title they have won, they still want another title to win. So we work with players with huge character. They are not complacent. They are thinking ahead. And we really hope on Saturday they are going to put up a fight.
KCCA will come up against Kitara FC in the other semi-final second leg fixture on Sunday. The Kasasiro boys, who are searching for a record 11th Uganda Cup, already have one foot in the final after defeating Kitara 3-0 in the first leg. Noah Walakira, NTV Sport.
Now, Sampoza was at the just concluded Uganda Secondary Schools Sports Association Ball Games One in Teso region, and he takes us through the eventual winners of the 21 events that were hosted by Bukedea Comprehensive and Ngora High School.
The first phase of the National Secondary School Games, dubbed Ball Games One, was concluded this week in Teso region of eastern Uganda, following nearly 2 weeks of intense competition among the students in 20 sporting events. Kampala District representatives Kibuli Secondary School became the most successful team in the games after scooping 5 out of the 21 gold medals. They took gold in both boys and girls lawn tennis, boys and girls table tennis, and boys badminton. St. Noah Girls School Zana recorded their most successful ball games in history with 2 gold medals that were won from girls football and 5-on-5 basketball. The Wakiso District champions beat Eastern Region champions Amos College in the girls football final on 5-4 sport kicks to win their second national football title since Gulu 2022. The Zana-based school, for the first time in history, beat their Wakiso district rivals St. Mary's Chitende in the 5-on-5 basketball final to claim the national bragging rights.
This win means that we have started a dynasty. We want to be the best in East Africa. We want to be the best school that plays basketball in the whole of Africa generally. That's our main target.
After about 15 years, I've never gone to East Africa as second. It's the first time I'm going as second. But yeah, it's a game really. There's highs and lows. We are going to prepare well because we need East Africa. We thank God that we qualified to represent the country in Kenya in about July. And we are going to back to the boardroom to strategize and see how we're going to represent the country better.
East Africa Games boys basketball champions Amos College won the national title in their backyard after beating finals debutants St. Cyprian Chabakadi by a 19 points margin. Both the winner and losers will travel to Kakamega in Kenya in August this year, hoping to face off again in the regional schools competition.
Last year we were the champions of FIASA, so this year we're going to defend the trophy.
We always take every game the way it comes, and I'm sure it's going to be better when we go to East Africa because I think they just got better from the qualifiers. We didn't really think we would hit the finals, but again, hitting the finals shows that the preparation was well executed. So we are going to have enough time to prepare for East Africa, and I think it's going to be better than what we've showed today.
And hosts Bukedea Comprehensive 2 won 2 gold medals in this year's Ball Games One, thanks to wins in both the boys and girls under-16 volleyball competitions. However, the mother of all battles was in the boys' football final in a repeat of the Wakiso Teso District Final, with record champions St. Mary's Secondary School Kitende taking on 2 times champions Buddo Secondary School. Kitende reached the final after the unfinished semi-final that saw their opponents Ginger Progressive given matching orders out of the competition and games village following a nasty scene that involved their team officials and match officials. State Minister for Sports Peter Ogwang, who presided over the game's closing ceremony, ordered for disciplinary action to be taken against all the perpetrators.
The footages are there. I direct as a minister, those who did that must be apprehended. A school which allowed its funds to go in to attempt to attack a referee must be apprehended, and those funds must be produced and banned from participating in these games furthermore.
Crowd favourites Buddo Secondary School went on to win the final on a 5-4 spot kicks, following an intense normal time goalless draw. The crestfallen Kitende head coach Hassan Zungu now looks to revenge in the East African Games due in Kenya.
Maybe we didn't have the luck. We tried our best. We had the chances more than them. Clear-cut chances, but we failed to convert the game. But I congratulate the Buddo for coming up as the champion. Maybe for us also next time.
Other gold medalists at this year's Ball Games One include handball under-16 girls winners Wampe Wontake, handball under-16 boys winners in Tare School, basketball 3-on-3 girls winners St. Mary's Kitende, basketball 3-on-3 boys winners Seta High School A-level campus, badminton girls winners Mbogo High School, hockey girls winners Kakunguru Memorial School, hockey boys winners Mbarara High School, rugby 15 girls winners Nkoma Secondary School, and rugby 15 boys winners King's College Buddo. About 7,000 students took part in the games that were hosted by Bukedia Comprehensive and Ngola High School. The second phase of the games, Ball Games 2, will take place in Tororo District in July before the East African Games. Sam Poza, NTV Sport.
And finally, Uganda Prisons Netball Club continued their dominance at the ongoing East African Netball Championships in Zanzibar after defeating Zanzibar's KVZ by 73-43 goals in a Group B encounter to secure a semi-final slot. Prisons will play their final group against APR of Rwanda on Sunday.
Opinion Poll is brought to you by
ICEA Lion. What's your plan?
Let's now wrap up NTV Weekend Edition with some of your thoughts on the People's Front for Freedom being gazetted as the latest political party ahead of the 2026 general elections. And I'll start with Abiku Ivan Kun. On X, you say that PFF is a positive step for Uganda's democracy, promoting diversity and giving citizens more options at the polls. And this ensures transparency and accountability in the electoral process. Welcome on board, PFF. Moving on to Etiang Silva, you say as long as political parties are many, no opposition party will win peacefully. PFF from FDC. Moving on to Kiza Bennett, you say with the current political trends in the country, we only need a referendum on how we should safeguard our Uganda without taking an equal route. No need for elections. I'll take one more. And this is Simon Simke, as you say. And what will it change? Just leave the issues of this country for good. The rest is nothing. Well, thank you so much for those of you that have shared your thoughts. The conversation, however, does continue on our social media platforms. And with that, NTV Weekend Edition comes to an end this Friday. We do appreciate your company. I'm Mildred Bedun with Susan Mujawananda on Sign Language. Have yourself a fantastic night.
So you can become a future CEO.
Hey, Dad.
And pay for my retirement. ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. ICEA Lion, what's your plan?
NTV, turning on your world.
That could have been bad.
Mount